The Thursday, May 8th Planning Commission meeting at 6 o'clock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks for everyone for coming tonight. So there were some agendas over on the side. If anybody needs an agenda, we got a couple things to talk about tonight. First thing on our agenda tonight is approval of the agenda. Are there any additions or subtractions to the agenda tonight?
I move to approve the agenda as written.
Second.
Hearing none, I have an approval and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. We have some meeting minutes from the March 13th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting. I think there were certain copies over there if anybody wanted to review them. Did anybody see any amendments or adjustments needed on those? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
And I think we should do a shout out to Julie. She did a heck of a job of getting all the ins and outs of a relatively complicated meeting. Go Julie.
Good job, Julie.
Hear that, Julie? We're giving you a shout out. Thank you for everything you do.
Bring cookies next time.
I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion, a second.
Second.
All right, I have a motion, a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, I know Mr. Jacobs out today, but Scott, do we have anything from the commission? I see no one from the city council either.
Right. No, I do not really have anything for you.
Okay.
There's a few things that are possibly popping for the June meeting. We may be considering the corner Jamie Junker's site again. We wait for plans on that. But otherwise, it's been fairly quiet.
All right, I appreciate it. So seeing no more department or city council here tonight, we'll move on to our next section on the agenda tonight. So seeing there's some people in the public, I want to make this very clear. So this is the time for visitor and public comment. There's an opportunity for the public to address the commission with questions or comments on issues that are not part of the regular agenda tonight. So if you're on the regular agenda coming on the public hearings, this isn't the right time. We'll ask you to come later. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If there's anybody that has anything to talk about tonight that's not on the agenda. All right, hearing none, let's move on over to the public hearings. Scott, you want to start us off with, I'm going to mess this name up, so I apologize, the Nguyen short-term rental? Am I close?
Thank you. The applicant has made there's an application that's been made for a conditional use permit. Allows for transient and short-term rental at 5702 Penrose Avenue North. Trung has purchased the home and remodeled it as his principal residence and wants to make the house available for short-term rentals. This property is zoned R1 single-family residential. The applicant has provided some narrative and some explanation of what their intent is. Mainly, it appears though as a short-term rental, primarily on weekends when he's not present at the house. The zoning ordinance allows for the transient lodging short-term rental at CUP, as I said, but it's also home occupation, so it requires a home occupation license. Going through the criteria, just hitting on a few points. Owner needs to maintain all the required licensing. That's primarily the home occupation permit. There's also tax consequences for the visitor's tax and lodging tax, etc. The rental unit has 2 bedrooms and 1.5 baths. He would rent the entire unit when he's not there, and you don't have to be physically present at the site when you're renting it, but it has to be your primary residence, and he has homesteaded the property. It is all the bedrooms are within the principal structure. It's more than 500 feet from the nearest nearest other rental property, and that's Covert Park Manor, and the distance is about 681 feet. Adequate space in the driveway, adequate lighting. You can see that there's lights both on the structure, on the principal structure, as well as the garage structure. And then just our standard conditions. If the planning commission is so inclined to recommend this, there is a list of conditions, and these are conditions that we've used for other. Actually, we've had one not too long ago for another rental, and this is very similar to what required of that other applicant. In your packet, there is some comments. We should make note of that as part of the public hearing. And then there's also one, actually I think Julie has made copies for you of, within your packet of the comments. So with that, any questions?
I got a couple. Not that it changes anything, but for item 4, yeah, for the distance, why wasn't it, again, doesn't change anything, but why wasn't the distance measured from the southeast corner of Doherty's place and the northeast corner of the applicant?
I believe that's what was done. I should look at that again.
When you go to the,
I don't know if I have that.
I mean, just to keep the conversation going, when you go to Exhibit 5, where they have the aerial map with all the addresses, it shows the corner to corner that it did
Yeah, you measured the wrong corner, but
southwest instead of northwest. He'll still fall without the radius. I'm just pointing out that.
Yeah, it is, that was changed. It seems to me that it was at the northwest corner, but he's still well within that. So, yeah, it was that 60-some foot wide lot, so again, we're still within that.
it's one of 2 that are outside the 500 range in the city, so I think it's in.
No, it doesn't matter, just,
But good point.
Yeah.
yeah, precedent.
Is the ordinance from corner to corner, or is it from residence to residence?
I don't believe it's that specific. I'd have to look at the exact language.
It says 500 feet.
From other bed and breakfast facilities.
Well, I mean, if you have a giant lot like Blake does, then.
We did it from property
Or like
lines.
Doherty's.
We did it from, okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty straightforward.
There is some pictures up above here on the screens. That's just an aerial photograph. Some pictures of the interior of the structure, or one picture of the interior. There's the exterior, interior again. There's the garage.
I move we open the public hearing.
All right. I have a motion to open the public hearing at 6:07. Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. So at this time, if there's anyone in the room that would like to comment on this topic at hand, please come up to the stand, state your name and your address, and keep your comments short. If there's no one to talk about, if the applicant would like to say anything, this would be your opportunity as well to speak on behalf of the proposal before us before we close the public hearing.
Thank you, Scott. That was a great summary. And so I am the owner of the property, and I wanted to highlight that this, I purchased this when it was in very dilapidated and tough shape. And I love the community, and I've gotten to know my neighbors very well. I feel that having this as a short-term rental, both either through VRBO or Airbnb, I haven't looked too much into it. The idea is that we are able to bring people from outside the community into ours to enjoy the beautiful city that we have, and this way they can also frequent our restaurants and enjoy our businesses. Do you guys have any questions for me?
I have one.
Yes.
How often do you plan on renting it out?
So I'm thinking maximum maybe 1 or 2 weekends a month.
Okay.
That would be for how many days at a time?
So when I travel, it's usually for the weekend, and when I work is sometimes forces me to be gone during that time as well. I understand that, for example, the winter months are going to be exclusive to me being there. And so mostly during the summer months. Yeah.
And how,
Sorry.
a weekend would be how long? How many-
A weekend for me would be anywhere from like Friday evening to Monday morning, but I haven't been able to dictate the availability just yet because I don't understand the demand at this point.
Any other questions for the applicant?
You plan on hiring a company to clean and do all those processes?
No, I actually want to be within the community.
Sure.
So there are a couple of people that are, I want to be diplomatic about this, where financially could use the additional income. So I would be paying the market rate and for people to come and clean up within the community, to come and clean up after someone has stayed there for the weekend, or I myself would do it if I'm available.
Cool. Sure. Anything else? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else in the room that would like to talk or say anything about the short-term rental? Seeing no one, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion, we close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Public hearing is closed at 6:11. All right. Who wants to go first?
I think he's got support of his neighbors, mapping out the ones that are in the packet. It's every corner except two, one at a greater distance. He's got the support. So my only question maybe for Scott is, if he sells the property, the permit goes away with him, correct? It wouldn't stay to the address?
It's a conditional use permit, so the CUP would continue, but he could, maybe the next person does not want to do that, they just don't get the license.
Yes, there's a renewal and, yeah. How,
Does it, let's say he sold it to me, and I wanted to continue it, would I have to do anything to?
Again, you just have to apply for the home occupation license and comply with all the conditions. A conditional use permit runs with the land, so it transfers from person to person. But there is a sundown on that, so if they don't utilize it, that CP for a year, it would go away. So it wouldn't stay on the books forever, essentially.
Yeah, but how would we track or know if he's using it or not?
The only way with these to track them is to actually go on the sites, to go on VRBO and Airbnb to really track them. So that's why. And actually, I believe, I don't know if Julie or someone else, maybe someone in finance, actually does do that, because there's tax revenues and so forth out of it. So they do keep watch of that.
because that kind of ties into item 6 about permits may be reviewed, including site inspections by the building official. How often does that happen with the ones that are currently in the city?
Not very often.
So it's a random door knock, hey, you might be home and we're going to do a random inspection?
Exactly. Well, and that probably doesn't even happen. Generally, things like that are on a complaint basis. Let's say you had a renter that said, I had some concerns about this property that I stayed at, and they contact the city, then it would happen.
Or the neighbors with noise.
Neighbors.
Yeah. Yeah, because you look at the city and all of them are in the northeast corner, and those must have been grandfathered into the ordinance because they're pretty tight. So
Yeah.
for the applicant, I don't have any questions or qualms.
No, I think it makes sense. We need more of these in the community. And I think, Scott, the city is planning to review some of that ordinance anyway, so I think it's on the list to look at.
That's
in
on the
future.
list to look at,
Yeah.
and I'm putting together some discussion elements on that for the city council to see if they want to make some changes. And if they decide that, yes, we should make a few amendments, they'll send it on to the planning commission.
So I'd like to make a motion to approve
I second.
I have a motion.
Conditions.
I have a
Yeah,
motion.
with the conditions.
With the conditions, yes. Amendment to my motion under the conditions.
So I have a motion to approve in a second with the conditions set forth by Mr. Richards. And I have a second. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, I would call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So I want to make this, so you understand what happens now. So this will go before the city council, because the planning commission in Oak Park Heights only makes a recommendation. We don't make the final decision. So this will be sent towards the city council meeting, which I am guessing, will it go before them on the 13th, or are you going to?
It'd be May 27th.
So it's going to go on the May 27th one. So I would recommend you show up to the May 27th meeting. They'll make the final decision at that point in time. All right? So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Moving on, we will move on to the Hatalia Detached Garage, CUP on 15117 65th Street North. Mr. Richards?
Yes, the applicants have submitted an application. Let me switch this over.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Submit an application for a conditional use permit. It is to allow for construction of garage at 15117 65th Street North. There's two conditional use permits, one for placement of the structure in the front yard, and the second for a setback of 9 feet where 30 feet is required from 65th Avenue. Corner lot, as you can see, 65th and Paris Avenue, both county roadways. The way the ordinance reads is that both frontages would have a 30-foot setback, and that would apply both to the principal and to the accessory structure. They're proposing a garage of 28 by 40 feet, total about 1,120 square feet. They have provided a rather detailed narrative on this. I did not replicate that in the report, but again, providing the reasons why they feel justification for the conditional use permits. Going into the zoning aspects of it, the accessory building section has a lot of ins and outs. The first thing is we do not allow accessory buildings in the front yard, and what's considered the front yard here is where the house, or where the backyard is where the house is at. So the house is firmly within the rear yard. Again, these, in this older neighborhood before zoning, that doesn't necessarily conform with what we have out there for current zoning regs. The Paris is the front yard because it is the shortest point or the shortest distance on the right of way. So this whole area, the whole area where I'm pointing out, that is all the front yard. And this, if the house was here, this would be the rear yard of that. So a conditional use permit is required for the front yard because the structure is there. Also, the structure is proposed at 30 feet from Paris, which meets that front yard setback, but 9 feet from 65th Street up here. Again, that matches what the house is currently at 9 feet. Again, 30 feet would put it, quite a ways down, really creating some difficulties for actually putting a garage or a smaller garage there. Maybe a garage this size is not warranted. That's something for you to discuss. But also you have to consider there's a shared driveway here with the two houses, and you have to have a certain amount of swing to get into the garage door. So you have to be able to get to your vehicles within that garage. I did mention the size of the detached garage. It's within the allowance. There's also this small shed down here that counts to the overall, and they have proposed exactly 1,200 square feet, 1,120 square feet for the garage. It's one thing I think the planning commission should discuss a bit, in that, there will be another 21 feet required if they're going to meet the 30-foot setback. Footprint to the house is 1,064 square feet. This structure will be larger than that. Just for frame of reference, standard two-stall garage is 24 by 24, 576 square feet. Three-stall garage is 24 by 36, 864 square feet. So I think that's something to consider. Typically, when you're looking at a variance or a conditional use permit, for, in this case for side yard setbacks, you look at a reasonable amount of variance, and is someone entitled to a garage that much larger than a standard garage that will encroach in the setback? Something for you to consider. The last one we had was Dotary up on the hill. I don't know the address off the top of my head. That garage was about 980 square feet is what was proposed. And that was a double frontage, and that was in the front yard.
Starting to become common. We have all these giant, massive garages in these tiny houses. There's 3 or 4 of them I can think of, Scott, that have been built in the last couple of years. A couple of them that were built with conditions that they would adjust afterwards and finish peaks and adjust the houses, and then they came back and begged for forgiveness and never did it, if you recall those, right?
Right.
So I agree. I'm a little leery of building a garage as the size of the house. It definitely isn't necessarily positive to the community and the neighborhood that we live in.
So this is the generally the general plan for what they're looking at, and you can see also a footprint of it with the garage door that, again, that would face towards that to that joint driveway, another garage door here, and then windows around, again, to give the structure some character. Some pictures of the site. And
That
there's
does not
that
look
shared
like a
driveway.
tiny little house to me.
Pardon me?
When you we're talking about somebody's building these great garages because of these tiny houses. Well, this does not look to me like a tiny house where there's going to be a huge garage.
The footprint's still larger.
Let's let Scott get through this and then we can discuss.
Yeah, so there's a discussion of those points, and then really staff did not really have any issues with what they're proposing. They originally proposed the front yard setback to be, I believe, 10 feet. They did, staff discussed that with them, saying if you can pull it and meet that 30-foot requirement for 30 feet, that would be helpful for your case. So the discussion, again, the point that staff makes up is it reasonable to have a garage of this size? The garage meets all the other requirements. There are some basic design standards for garages. It meets that. So if you're so inclined to move forward with this, there is a list of conditions for you to consider. Any questions at this point?
I have a question. Is there anything in the city comprehensive plan about 50% impervious surface? They're getting close to 46%. That could cause, drainage issues, water issues, puddling, pooling. You're losing your turf. So
Yeah, interestingly,
That's
this
kind
city
of
has never had a impervious surface coverage requirement.
Okay.
I stand corrected. In the area to the west of Stillwater Boulevard, there is some percentages on total impervious. That's the industrial area that we adopted or annexed from the township. So there is there, but we haven't traditionally had that in residential areas.
Can you stay on the site plan? So if I understand the ordinance or the zoning, the ordinance requirements, they would not need a conditional use permit for setbacks if they rotated it and put it in this planned southwest corner, correct? Because if you had a 6-foot standoff from any structure that's planned east of the house, and then you have 5 feet off the lot line, and then they would meet both setbacks and
Yeah, so what you're saying is just tilt the garage the other way.
toward the house, yeah.
You're still going to have a conditional use.
If they're within 6 feet of the house and 5 feet of the lot line, they wouldn't have a conditional use permit because then they meet the size of the structure, the
Meet both
spacing.
setbacks.
Yeah, it's possible that the setback could be met, but again, no matter what they do, they have to have the conditional use permit because it's in the front yard.
Right, and I don't have a problem with that because that lot is such a
And
challenge.
there's no other way, no other place you can put it.
Okay.
Any more questions for Mr. Richards?
How tall is the garage?
It's a standard garage size, I believe let me take a look at that. I believe that's in some of the information that we didn't send to you. And the applicants may be able to answer that too.
All right. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing at this point in time.
So moved.
I have a motion. Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, so the motion is approved to open the public hearing at 6:25. So at this point in time, if there's anyone that would like to come and address the planning commission,
Wait.
either,
Do we have this letter?
yeah, I'll bring that up. So I do have, I guess I can do that now. I do have one letter from a Ms. Holtman that is for it. She lives at 15117.
It's
Michael Rhoda.
Yeah.
Or Michael Rhoda, sorry. I misread that. I apologize. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah. It's here. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but overall, she does not have an objection against this garage. So,
She says it'll reduce visibility.
yeah, I can read it.
I do think, if we're talking about her letter, that it raises a good point about a stop sign, and I think that's something that the city should,
It's not our road.
what, I understand that, but the city still can take a look at it and talk to the proper people.
Yeah.
Can we actually,
So it's a state highway.
Yeah, no.
Both
County.
corners. County highway, excuse
as
me.
a recommending board though, can we do that? Can we propose?
You can always put it in as a condition, but
That the city looks at.
So when we make our motion, we can
You could.
approve it based on a condition that a four-way stop gets put in.
right, and then it
Sweet.
goes to the council. and they decide
That's what
whether
I
they
wanted
want
to hear. Nice.
I would loosely word it to say the planning commission recommends that the city work with the county on
Stop
Yeah, it's
possible.
not a stipulation.
You know,
on
they
our
have to be
application.
warranted and so forth, and for the most part, most times, stop signs are not warranted, but, they can always ask the county.
Okay.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to address the commission about this project tonight?
Including,
Yep, please come up and state your name and address, please, and then keep your comments under 5 minutes.
My name is Mimi Hasselback. I live at 6460 Paris. I am the house that shares the driveway with the Hatalas. I have filed a deed, but the owner is Warren Landro, but they haven't transferred ownership yet, so I think he got the letter to come tonight. Anyway, I live there at the house, and I don't have any objections to the garage. But I would comment that we discussed that perhaps the garage going up may take traffic that is coming east and force them to look more closely when they're turning south or right. Because that stop sign, they run it constant. They slow down and they look to the left and then they just go. And they don't stop and they never look right. So I've almost been rear-ended pulling out of my driveway a few times because they're not looking when they're coming around that corner. So we thought maybe the garage would cause them to stop and look a little more closely because it could be, it does obstruct view. But then I think now saying that out loud that perhaps it wouldn't because they just never stop for that stop sign. They just roll through it. They look left and then they just go, so. But anyway, I'm next door and I don't have any objection to the garage.
You're saying that it might be a safety, something that would help safety.
Like a s-
I was hoping it
Yeah.
might, like because it's there and obstructing some visuality, it's because now it's just wide open. And it's really easy to just kind of glance and go without even trying to look.
And you
But
don't have,
that
you don't
stop
have a
sign's a
problem
huge
with it
issue.
obstructing a view out of your house out of that?
You know, to be honest, I kind of did. And then I thought, well, on the other hand, it provides some privacy to me for the north side of the house because now it feels more visible and open. But I think with the garage there provide privacy. And The other thing I thought was it just doesn't seem fair to the Hatalas, because when you go around the neighborhood, just about everybody has a garage. And in Stillwater, they have the mansion garages with the houses, I've noticed, yeah. So, and this isn't a mansion garage, so I don't really have any objection to it.
Okay. That's why I was asking how tall it was, because I was thinking of, I didn't know who owned the house next to it, and I thought, well, their view's gonna get obstructed. So if you don't have a problem with it, then,
I don't have a
It
problem
would
with
block
it.
southbound headlights, so that'll be good at
Yeah, cuts
night.
back on that, cuts back on lights, cuts back on noise from traffic, definitely. So it's almost a benefit in a way to me, being next door. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would have any comments? Otherwise, if the applicant would like to come forward, that'd be great. Any comments from the applicant? And then I'll give the commission a chance to ask any questions to you before we close the public hearing.
I do have several comments, as Scott
Can you
said.
state your name for
Oh, I'm
Julie?
sorry.
Yeah,
Emma
no worries.
Catala.
Thank you, and give her your address too, so she gets the notes.
15117 65th Street North, Oak Park Heights, Minnesota.
Thank you.
As Scott said, I did write a lengthy narrative for why we want a garage and our rationale for it. I don't know if it's a benefit to read the entire thing or if I should just skip through. And
We've all seen it. We all have a copy of it.
Oh,
And we've all been
okay.
provided a copy of it for
Okay,
over a
perfect.
week. We got it last week.
And then just to make sure, Julie did include, because I know we had several other neighbors email support, was that included as well, not just Mike Rodas? Okay, perfect. All right, let's see here. So my name is Megan. I'm here representing myself and my husband Douglas in our request for a conditional use permit. We moved to Oak Park Heights in February 2021 from St. Paul, where we lived for 10 years. My husband's always been pushing to move back here. He graduated from Stillwater. Both of his parents graduated from Stillwater. I think his grandparents graduated from Stillwater. So it's a very embedded sort of sense for him. Our daughter will be attending kindergarten this fall in the school district. She's a Daisy Scout. I'm on the board for River Market Co-op. And I give you this background just to illustrate that we're all in on being active members in this community until, I don't know, our health allows, I guess. And a part of that is making the property that we purchased usable for our needs into the future. So, let's see. The highlights, focusing on kind of the, I don't know, the tentacles, the columns, whatever metaphor strikes you, rests on 4 different things. So the need for storage, protecting our property and vehicles, enhancing the neighborhood aesthetic, and safety, which Mimi touched on. So the most obvious, storage. So when we moved to Oak Park Heights, and as Scott noted, there is a shed in the corner of the property, which is literally overfull with all the things that you need in Minnesota to take care of a property, right? A snow blower, lawnmower. My husband is a millwright and a welder, so he has, I don't know, a wall full of tools and things like that. Our bikes are lashed to the top of it. You can basically walk into the structure and turn, and that's about it. So obviously having a garage gives us a little bit more room there, and also takes away any of the clutter that just naturally kind of happens outside. You guys have children or have had children, you know that, yeah, they they collect things, and those things don't always get put away in a timely manner. So there's that part. Garage gives us that breathing room to be able to store our things. We can store a recycling garbage bin, land use bin as well. Protection of property. Garage allows us to park our vehicles inside a structure. Right now, they're just parked in the gravel driveway, which creates an opportunity for, I don't know, anybody to come by and check our door handles, or, you know, if our bikes are laying outside, they can grab any of those sorts of things. It also protects our vehicles, the batteries from the wear of winter weather, the potential for damage from hail, extreme weather events, all those types of things. Enhancing neighborhood aesthetic. So in our 4 years in Oak Park Heights, we've demonstrated a dedication to building a little space in our corner. And I did bring, I don't know if I don't think they were included, but that's what it looked like previously. So this is the shopping. You can find it on Google Maps, so that's what it looks like now.
Yeah. It's
So suffice to say, we've done a lot of work. We continue to do a lot of work battling the buckthorn, the invasive honeysuckle, giant tree that was about to fall over when we moved in. And as Mimi said, it opened up the yard, which is great and gives us room for gardening and projects and things like that, and also with the intention of being able to add the structure of the garage there as well. And with the garage, as you said, my ChatGPT generated image of what we think it would look like with gardens. My daughter wants to do, wherever she went, she requested a food forest on that side, so we'll get all that nice eastern sunlight. So we're excited for those aspects of it. And then finally, safety. We don't think our garage will hamper visibility for vehicles arriving at the corner. We think it's going to make it safer, actually. Mimi talked a little bit about it, and it's been a source of unhappiness, consternation, lots of synonyms I can throw in about how we feel about the corner. When we initially moved in and noticed that no one stops. People roll right through it in their turn. They come up, they can see, especially since we removed everything, so they can see nothing's coming this way. They're looking this way, they're looking on their phone, and then they turn, regardless of kids learning how to ride their bikes, or it's a very popular route for pedestrians and walking dogs around that corner. So having the garage there doesn't impede visibility, but it would force you to slow down, right, and stop and like peek around before you continue moving forward. And we did reach out to the county, I think when we first moved in 2021, and about the possibility of a four-way stop, of a flashing light, of a children at play sign, anything like that. And we're basically shot down. So I'm not sure who has the pull to maybe make something like that happen, but we would 100% appreciate and love that. There are over 10 kids, I think, in the neighborhood under the age of 5. So there's a lot of kids who are running around from yard to yard and playing and, yeah, trying to have fun.
So I have a question. So I see on these photos that there was a lot of shrubbery here. Did you notice once you took that out that people glance and go, or did they stop before? Because I see like lots of trees there. What did you notice about that?
I don't remember.
Because that's, I mean, that's.
You couldn't see through the shrubs.
I was going to
You
say,
didn't know.
I was going to say if it's going to block the view and people can't stop, like kind of do the California stop and go kind of a thing, if it
Right.
deters that.
It's not gonna be any more blockage. It's gonna block less than the shrubs did.
Right.
The shrubs
were
provided more
about-
blockage, so this isn't a safety thing.
The shrubs were.
I'm just curious. I'm just speculating. You can't ever be 100%. So
In my
think the
opinion, the
shrubs were
shed
about-
will not do anything for traffic.
okay.
People are gonna do what they're gonna do.
No. The shrubs were, thank God, maybe 5 feet from the curb.
So you plan on hooking a
Wow.
hard right into your garage off your driveway, essentially?
Yeah, so we'll keep like the gravel up to where it is, so we will be able to, either take a hard right or pull forward and then back. Does that make sense? And as for the
I
side,
just see you using the other person's driveway frequently with trailers or boats or whatever is in your future of
If-
a hard 90-degree turn is really hard to do when you're swinging equipment and swinging stuff.
100%. If we are
That's
ever,
why you're pushing so hard to the 9 foot on the street to give you the most amount of swing room that you can.
Yeah, and I mean, if we are ever in a position to have those things, that would be a nice
It
problem.
might
to
be a
have,
while
maybe.
with the cost of the shed, right? Or the garage.
Yeah.
It's not cheap.
Exactly. Concerns about the size of the garage, so I did include just like a brief kind of mock-up of how we intend to use it beyond the AI rendering. That just gives an idea. Like I mentioned, my husband is a millwright, he's a fabricator, so him being able to have like his own workbench is great, right? And one of the things that we really loved about the property when we first moved into it is just that potential that it has, right? So as I stated, we're here, right? We're planning on being here for a long time, and we really want to make this property like kind of our, I don't know, dream home. Sounds schmaltzy, I think, but a dream garage maybe.
When you guys were looking at this, my only question would be the placement like I was kind of posing to Scott. Did you guys look at other spots like along the driveway side versus the roadside?
We did. In our earliest conversations, it sounded like that was just not feasible. And so we pivoted to the other way due to like the swing factor and having to be a certain distance from Mimi.
Scott, could you pull up, while we have the applicant up before we close the public hearing, can you pull up the blueprint map for us, please? Do not be
Right
as
now, they're-
lenient with the shared driveway.
Yeah,
Also could buy a semi. I mean,
exactly.
you know, I mean, I don't think it's our job to think about what the future possibilities can possibly be, you know, I think it's.
I disagree. I think it is our job to think of what the future possibilities could be.
Well, I'm looking at the way that we're looking at conditional with the setback on the front yard. If we turned it 90 degrees, we're maybe looking at a little less than 30, but it'd be pretty comparable. And you could do the 6 foot off the lot line, correct, Mr. Richards?
It's 6 foot off the lot line. It's
What's
6
the-
foot from the house.
6 foot from the house? What's the lot line setback?
It's 30 and 30.
30.
It said it was, in your earlier paragraph, it was 5.
Right, but that's, again, those are the standards, but it's a different situation in that you've got 2 frontages.
Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking, turn it away from the front, turn it 90 degrees and come
It could
straight
be
into
5
the
feet from
garage.
the, you know, the lower.
Yeah, I was looking at the
this-
south lot line. Yeah, so if you
Right.
turned it
That-
90 degrees, so your garage door faced east,
And you'd be within,
you'd be
you'd have to
almost.
shorten it because you're at
Yeah, if you're gonna maintain
77.8
that 30
feet,
feet, you're probably gonna have to shorten it to make sure you maintain this setback.
but not by much because if it's
You'd be-
77.8, you're at a 40
You'd be at
foot
like-
garage, you've shortened it 3 feet and you're within the ordinance.
Yeah, I would be more amenable to looking at something like that than this sitting apart.
What is the problem with this?
It-
Besides the fact that if they buy a semi, they can't back it in.
No, it's not a semi. No,
Okay, if they get a camper, they can't back, I mean, isn't that something?
Well, you got ownership issues. You got you got a monument there that's talking about shared driveways. So a land surveyor went out, dimensioned it off. So that is someone else's property that's being used as well. So any person that goes over that line, you're now encroaching and you're using someone else's land, and that can become a legal dispute. So if someone does that, which hypotheticals suck, I understand that they do, facts are better, but it is a situation.
Is there a shared easement with that? I mean,
Exactly, that's what I was gonna
There's a
ask.
shared easement between the 2 properties.
No.
There's
there isn't.
there's just been a handshake situation.
All right.
But after a certain amount of years,
Any-
you get
any other-
prescriptive rights.
Yep.
and so
Any other
then-
questions for the
yeah.
applicant at this point?
I mean, everybody seems.
We're going to
agreeable
close the
with it,
public
yeah.
hearing and we'll talk amongst ourselves.
Sure.
Any other questions for you?
No.
I don't.
No,
Do you have
thank you
anything?
very
Okay,
much.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Yes.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on behalf of this tonight? Yep. Feel free, just remember to state your name and address, please.
Okay. My name is Wendy Dusick, and I'm Megan's mother. We live in Wisconsin, so 606 150th Street, Wisconsin.
Thank you.
Wisconsin.
It's for the records for Julie, so thank you.
No problem. My question is, so you're talking about turning it so they would pull directly into the garage from Paris Street.
Either a 90 or a 45,
45 would be at an angle?
correct? To give more access to the garage door.
I'm 100% understand.
Yeah.
So you
I
want-
didn't
So
understand.
imagine your rectangle here, your 40-foot dimension gets turned 90 degrees.
So
So
east-west.
now it's
So-
east-west instead of
Your
north-south.
long side would be east-west, your short
I
side.
drew
would
it out
be-
before I came.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought.
So driving straight in off of Paris, right into the door.
Oh, wait.
Right into the door. So you'd come in off of Paris, right into your door. So it'd be putting your door from the south side to the Paris side.
One thing about
And that's
that, though,
okay.
is the county may have some issues with pushing the driveway further up on Paris. You may want, if you are
No, we're not
talking
messing
about
with driveway.
We're not touching
We're not
driveways.
touching curb and gutter,
Oh,
we're
okay.
not
So I
touching
thought you were
driveways.
going directly off of Paris, directly into it, but you can
need a
still
laser
maintain the
pointer.
Same driveway.
Okay.
You'd just be kind of shifting it down and
So your
could do that
main
with
garage
less
doors,
on
what
that.
you're envisioning would
So
be
this-
on this
So
side.
if you turned it, you would have to stay 5 feet away from this lot line.
And 6 feet off your
And
house.
This would be 30 and this would be closer.
And then 6
away
feet
from
off your
property-
house. So then you could have a door in the back
And it would
and
preserve more of the yard.
you just won't be going through your gated area where you have your shed, where you have your gate. You would be blocking that with your shed or your garage.
And this is okay? Like, we can be that close to Mimi?
6 feet is the city ordinances.
Yeah, you could be closer.
Side setback.
Okay, so this would get approved, is what you're saying?
We would potentially explore that
Or
instead of setting it
only
apart
change would
the way
be
you have
as
it
if you
drawn
had-
today.
Or even a 45-degree angle, so not going 100% 90, but go 45. Keep the 6 feet off the house, keep the one corner. Angle it, essentially, I think is what we're getting at.
Or he's talking at 45, so it would go like that.
Yeah.
No, because that puts Harper on the other side, and I don't want that.
I don't think angling makes.
It would
any
preserve
sense
more
for
of your
anybody.
yard for future usage of the kids, potentially fencing like you've seen in a lot of the neighborhood houses if you look right across the street.
Can I see your diagram?
Yeah.
Angling it would work because then they would keep
I
their
thought about
gate.
that, but didn't draw it out, so that was already done.
Yeah, I thought we had discussed that, and
Because then it would only be the current neighbor or future neighbors having the broad side of the garage.
Blake,
Or no,
I thought-
Tyler.
Tyler.
This has to maintain 6 feet.
When you say angling, it won't benefit anybody. It kind of will. Then they can still use their gate and get back to their shed. With what you're proposing blocks that whole deal.
Yeah, you can just push it off and then you got to shorten the length of the garage to maintain the 30 feet.
Right, but angling it, you can make all of that happen easier to pull in, and they can still get through to their gate
Yeah.
and their shed.
It would be closer to setting back to the city ordinances because you're supposed to have a 30-foot on both sides. So if you turned it 90 degrees like we're talking about and we're having a conversation, plus or minus, because none of us have measured it with a ruler, based on the drawings, you'd be like 29 from the one side based on 65th, and you'd be like 27, 28 potentially from Paris, which is more in line with what the city has set forth for trying to keep patterns within the city limits, right? So that it keeps consistency amongst the houses within the city versus what you've brought before us today.
She's not supposed to have a garage in that side yard at all.
Well, it's just because we call it the side yard, but that would make it more consistent with the way houses are being constructed and renovated within the city limits. Does that make sense?
And it would still have
It's not
the,
perfect, but you're never perfect, but it's a lot closer than this.
and it would still be the CUP with the fact that it's the side yard, not the rear. So that inevitably stays.
Yep. And it's probably going to need a CUP still because it's going to be 29, 27 or something like that. It's not quite be 30, but it's going to be real close.
Unless you mitigate that with like reducing the length.
Yeah, unless you reduce the garage by 2 feet and a foot or something.
Yeah, and if it's that close, I would highly recommend that they make it consistent, if possible.
And Cornerstone Land Surveying can very easily manipulate all of that. You give them the dimensions that the city wants, they can shrink, twist, rotate. They'll, very easy.
They're very expensive, though.
They are. Yeah.
So we would redo this process again?
We're gonna close the public hearing at this point. We're gonna talk amongst ourselves and we'll make a recommendation. We may potentially make that recommendation. The planning commission still only makes recommendations, right? We don't make the final decision. It goes to the city council. But we could make that recommendation tonight if that's amenable to you as the homeowner. And then that could move forward to the city council and they could potentially just approve it at that point. Minus, we'd probably have to do some stuff, Scott, I don't know. Could we
Do some stuff.
I have a question.
Yeah, as far as if we amend this 90-degree turn and fix the setbacks, could we do
You can
that
make
tonight?
that recommendation, the applicants may not agree to that.
I was just gonna say,
Yep, but we could make that recommendation, and if the applicants agree to that, it would move forward.
Then I would say if then the applicants are, reasonable or feel that that is reasonable, I would suggest that they do a quick diagram showing that, and then that goes then before the city council.
Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
And if Cornerstone bills you more than an hour, that's too much. So
We'd still
1
need it.
hour,
No, go there.
170 an hour.
They just sent us a flat bill.
All right. Do you have any other questions for us?
I don't think so.
I do.
We're gonna.
Are you opposed to 90-degree turns? Is that a hard no for you, or are you open to?
I am open. My husband is quite passionate about where it's at. I think he might be open to this. It's a conversation, right?
Yeah.
Because one thing about it, 90 degrees puts your landscaping in gravel. Landscaping needs dirt.
Yeah.
So now you're doing driveway work and dirt work, and you're not just plopping it right in dirt. So more landscaping.
Or yard, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I move we close the public hearing.
Okay. I have a motion to close the public hearing in a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. All right. Who wants to go first?
That's a challenging lot.
Yeah,
So I think I'll bring up a few things. I've lived there long to see the buckthorn very thick, and I've seen the buckthorn removed, and the traffic problem's always been in existence, right? I've been there since 2018. I live just on 64th, for full disclosure, and it's always an issue on that road. Paris is very high traffic. People don't stop on 65th. I don't know what you're going to do with a building or buckthorn to cause any traffic mitigation from a safety perspective, right? So I think tonight that shouldn't really apply to this conversation because I don't see this being a safety factor either way, positive or negative. I think that's a conversation that we could definitely put in one of the conditions that we would request the city, request the county to explore stop signs. I don't see any harm in that. I think it would potentially be a good thing. I don't know if the county will do anything about it or not because it's beyond our control because they're both county roads. But I do think
Harris
that-
is county too?
So I think it's something we could explore, saying, hey, send a letter to the county and ask. I see no harm in that. As far as the building itself, it's another large garage in the community. We've had some very large garages built. A 28 by 40 is, although everyone's dream size, it's a big garage. I think it would make more sense from that lot, the flow of the property, to turn it like we talked about, that 90 degrees, to keep that property flowing more in conformance with the way houses are constructed and the garages are being added on to houses in the neighborhoods. Versus having another major, large, floating island detached garage sitting out there alone. That's my 2 cents.
So I have personal experience with this situation. My father owned a house when I was young and built a garage a little bigger than the house, and it ended up being hard to sell. It was known as the garage house. It was an eyesore. Having a garage that's bigger than the home and not attached to the home is something that is very tough. And so, being that I have personal experience with that, I'm reluctant on how it sits today.
I would agree. We've had 3 of them in my time in the planning commission that people have come and built garages that, in one especially, that they were supposed to renovate the property, and then they came back a year later and said, oh, we're not going to do that anymore because we ran out of money. So you have a giant garage with a small house.
2 within half a mile in each direction.
Yeah, I'm not.
And to spend thousands of dollars and get no money back on your
Yeah,
investment is.
I'm just not a proponent of giant garages bigger than houses, right? I'm okay with the garage. I think everybody needs a 2-car garage. We live in Minnesota. I think we need space. I think that property definitely will behoove having a 2-car garage on it. I just don't think the footprint of the garage should be larger than the footprint of the main home.
It seems to me we are not in the business of psychological or whatever advice or financial advice and saying, oh my God, you could lose money. I mean, that's not our job. Our job is to look at this. These people obviously have spent
Yep, I agree,
From a
Mr.
legal
Kramer.
standpoint, shitloads of time thinking about this, wondering what's the best for them and the way to use it. And do they understand that 20 years, 10 years, 5 years down the road, they could lose money? I suspect that they do. And if they do, that's not our issue to decide to protect you from yourselves and silly ass decisions that you make. It's our job, I think, to see if this is,
So-
if it fits in, not fits in, but if this is,
So I think you're correct, Mr. Kramer. I think we should look at our zoning policies and what we have within the regulations of Oak Park Heights, which is what we're really here to do, right? And which I agree what you're saying right there. This proposal doesn't fit those. It's too large. This setback off of 65th is 9 feet where it should be 30. So it's a
that's why they're
misplaced
here for
property.
conditional use permit. I mean,
Well, just goes to the conditions 1 through 9. Things to think about that we have no input on depreciation that's subject to market. Like, I don't think it would
We're
depreciate.
recommending board though, and we're in open discussion, so it's okay to have our comments.
Yeah.
Yep,
No, and I agree.
yep.
I move that we approve the request with the conditions outlined, and that we suggest, well, we can separately suggest to the county, or to the city that it ask for county look at stop sign. But I move that we approve the request with the conditions outlined in the.
I'm not ready to, we can take the motion. Do we have a second?
A second.
So I have a motion and a second. More discussion. I didn't call for a motion yet, so thank you, Mr. Kramer, for jumping the gun. I thought there was more discussion, but I think we should continue the discussion at this point.
No, just vote.
Yeah, we can call for a vote. Let's call a roll call vote at this point.
I don't
ahead,
think we're
Mr.
done with
Kramer.
discussion.
to discuss, that's
Well, let's continue the discussion.
appropriate.
Yeah, so, we have a motion to approve as presented. As presented, I think there's some recommendations that I would like to make still based on the presentation before us.
You can make another motion after, can we?
Yeah, we can. Yep. Mr. Husby, do you have any more discussion?
I would like to hear what other people have to say.
I got no dog in this fight. I don't live in that neighborhood. I don't get all these big garages. My husband was complaining about a garage. It sounds like she's got to discuss this with her husband. It sounds like he wants it
Not
like
if we
this.
approve it. Mr. Kramer's motion and a
Yeah,
second
yeah,
is
but I
as
approve-
it lies.
It makes sense what you guys were saying, but this isn't my garage. This isn't my property, so.
And
Here
city
it is. I
council
approve. I
might,
approve,
we
yeah.
could make a recommendation to turn it, and city council could approve it like this. It doesn't,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's right. So you want to vote? You say approve?
I approve, yeah.
Okay, I say no.
I don't think we're done discussing.
Hold on. You can't jump the gun. I am the chair. I call for the votes. I call for the motions.
Sounds good.
Mr. Kramer jumped the gun on a motion. So we have a motion and a second on the table. Do we have more discussion? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. Mr. Kramer,
Yes.
Mr. Husby,
Nay, and I'll explain why later.
Ms. Van Dyke, or Ms. Van Dyke? Sorry, I apologize.
Yes, I approve, I approve.
No.
Thank you. I vote nay. All right, so the motion that Mr. Kramer put forward was 3-2, fails.
I'd like to put a motion to rotate 90 degrees,
A recommendation.
a recommendation to rotate 90 degrees with a recommendation to add a four-way stop.
I would ask for a friendly amendment to explore if the building could be adjusted in size to meet the setbacks at that point in time.
With an amendment to adjust the size to conform to setbacks at that time.
Do I have a second?
I would second that.
So I have a
With the
motion and
amendment.
a second with the amendment. I call for discussion.
That is what we should have talked about until we jumped the gun.
Thank you. All right, so let's hear some discussion on this.
Are you talking about rotating at 90 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise?
Clockwise.
We're gonna put the garage doors facing west, Mr. Kramer. No,
Shouldn't that be in your motion?
no. We're making a recommendation to them.
So they can rotate it either way, 90 degrees?
I think it takes an intelligent person to know which way we're talking about, but sure, we should probably specify rotate it so the garage is facing west.
So the garage doors are facing west.
East, guys.
Or east.
Sorry.
That's how
Like a
ridiculous.
garage.
That's how ridiculous that is. Let's put the garage doors at the house.
I don't know if you need to be that specific.
We don't need to be
We do
that
not need to
specific.
be that specific.
I appreciate it, but
So that is not a friendly amendment?
no,
to
that's
the-
not a friendly amendment. No, I'm not entertaining that.
It's a challenging lot. I think it's a great idea. They need the space. They've done a lot of upkeep. I commend you guys. I live 2 blocks away on another busy corner. Everybody rolls all those stop signs between you and I and the government building. So the stop signs are horrible. God bless you for keeping your child safe. I walk by your house all the time with my dogs. Your garage isn't going to change the stop sign aspect of it. Given the lot or the west side of your garage right now would be in line with the stop sign as it's marked out today. If you guys look at rotating it, I think it's going to be smooth sailing. You'll get more yard.
I also would like to second what Mr. Husby is saying. I mean, I look at your house, you can see my house from your backyard, I guess, technically speaking. I have the maroon garage doors on 64th, right? I think that this will be a great addition to the community. I think exploring rotating it and tucking it in that corner a little bit allows you to have more space for your young children to play, and we see them out playing already, right? And I agree, it's a busy road. And I think it behooves the city to explore a stop sign. Not that we can control it, it's not our road, but we can always ask, and maybe we have a bigger hammer than someone else does. So I appreciate the willingness to explore adjusting and finagling it a little bit to conform a little closer with the city rules that are in place, right? That's why we have them. So, yeah, I think it's a solid motion. I think it's a solid compromise. And then today, neighbors are great, but you never know, since it is just a handshake driveway, it kind of future-proofs the property, right? So you don't have to worry about those in case you do have someone buy that property in 25 years that causes a problem with that shared driveway. It future-proofs the property, yes.
Can I clarify the motion?
Yes, please, Mr. Richards.
So, number one, well, first of all, we'd incorporate the conditions of the staff recommended. Turn the building 90 degrees, adjust the size. Does that also intend to say that both 30-foot setbacks would be met by adjusting that size?
That's the
You
goal.
could achieve easily by turning it, you're still going to have 6 feet from the principal structure. That's not a problem. But it may have to.
It's going to be real close on the Paris side. That would be the goal.
The goal.
Let's say that's
So
the goal.
30 foot.
Let's say that's the goal,
Just
Mr.
size
Richards.
so that both 30
Yep.
foot. So all you're really looking for with this recommendation is approve the conditional use permit for the fact that it's in the front yard.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then number 3, recommend the county work with the city on a potential four-way stop.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any more
We
comments?
need a roll call vote.
Yeah, any more comments from the commission? I would call for a vote again. Mr. Richards, could you help us with that?
Husby,
Yeah, yes. Yay.
Kramer,
Yep. Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Yes. Band-Aid.
everyone's yes on this, and the chair?
I'll abstain since I live within view.
And
but-
you're, okay, so abstain.
So we have a unanimous.
But yeah, but you didn't abstain on the last one, so I would
Because it was a
say-
tie, I needed to then. So it's fine. I vote yes if I need a vote.
You wouldn't need to abstain.
I don't need a vote. I can vote yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fine.
That
You don't have
makes
a
me more
financial-
comfortable.
I don't have any Yep.
You're fine.
Okay.
So,
So-
yes, okay.
Just for the applicant to clarify, like I do every time, so this will go before the city council with our recommendation that we just put forth, right? Which would be to explore turning the property, fitting it within those setbacks, right? And then you would only need the conditional to put it in technically your backyard, front
Side
yard.
yard.
Front yard. If I said that right, yeah, which is, yeah, it's confusing because it's the way that house is set. So that will be the May 27th city council meeting. That'll be at 6 o'clock here. So,
Yes, if you could, in advance, probably we can advance, but Julie will be in contact with you.
and then they make the final decision. We just send forth recommendations and they make the final call. But that'll be our recommendation to the city council, and then one of us will make sure we're there. So I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you very
for
much.
coming.
Yeah. So we're gonna move on.
Innovations.
We have no more public hearings. Do we have any new business? Hearing none. Do we have any old business? Hearing none. Informational, you guys got a piece of paper here talking about some upcoming meetings. I know we've got a couple applicants for the position opening up on the planning commission, so there'll be some news coming on that here in the near future. But I think that's all I have for informational.
Great.
I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A motion, I need a second.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Planning commission's closed at 7:07.